So our next guest, she's in the regional finals for Hammer and Tongue in Southampton. She's a scientist by day and spoken word artist by night. She writes on a variety of topics, from the mundane to the bizarre, taking inspiration from hip-hop artists and putting a strong emphasis on rhythm and wordplay.
I have a couple of poems, and the first one is about my favourite animal, and hopefully by the end of the poem she'll also be your favourite animal as well. There is a creature, I've seen her. She's armed with feathers and claws, moves with a curious demeanour, just a foot from the floor. They call her Raptor, and she captures in keratinous jaws. She's my carnivorous, ridiculous expression of force. She's snatching maggots and lice and catching serpents and mice, and she has chopsticks and Miyagi and unfortunate flies. I say they're rolling the dice if she's patrolling her zone. She'll rip a spider from inside her two-dimensional home. God made a murderer and furnished her with wattle and comb, and she's Cretaceous through relations and a common genome. But I don't mean to be the expertise in digging up fossils. See, and I don't believe you need degrees in paleontology. It's just easy to conceive she shares a certain biology with a species from a piece of recent cinematography. From skeletal morphology to the way that she walks, or ingredients she seems to keep obsessively warm. She is the closest to Velociraptor I ever saw, so listen up, my pet chicken is a dinosaur. Now the best of her, you may decide, is not very bright, but her ancestors straight up survived a meteor strike, and if I had to draw comparisons and keep it polite, you and your four-legged domestica bark and no bite. See, every morning we've been drawing up a wicked rapport. As I'll be yawning, she'll be calling out her avian roar, and legend has it that its magic makes a meal of a lion. And when the devil heard my bird, it sent him screaming and crying. She's always digging and scratching and picking up jewels and getting rid of them because they have no practical use. She'll perch in figurative birch and steal the wits of a fox and shoot the breeze with ancient people and celestial gods. She'll hit a European chord to save a man in the stand and go absorbing evil spirits like the best-selling brand. This enchanted winged biped makes my breakfast and more. She is my prehistoric mythologic miracle cure, and like I told you before, something you shouldn't forget, that you may be used to take the view of poultry and eggs, she is descended from some fellas that would tear off your head. So when you see an easy meal, I see a tiny T-Rex. That was about my chicken called Grimes. She's wicked. Cool. And the next one, another quick poem, is I entitled it Misinterpreting Text Messages from People You Fancy. And it's about reading too much into things. Stevie Wonder said it best. Love is so amazing, so much so I can attribute it to all my misbehaving and a sizable proportion of my day-to-day complaining, and it's crazy, entertaining, and other adjectives as well. And honestly, it's never been my strongest suit, and honestly, it fills me with anxiety and conflict, and I'm trying to play a game whose rules are not strict, convincing my grey matter that maybe there's something wrong with it, but I'm probably not alone. In fact, I'm pretty fortunate because I've got Google Scholar and a toolkit to explore it, to understand the chemistry and the chaos and the dread and the linkages and gears between my rib cage and my head. And maybe I can steady myself academically in good stead, and I'll call it a systematic study of the opposite sex. See, audience, what I'm trying to say is there are books there to be read, there are articles and journals to investigate in depth and maybe go some way towards the mediation of the panic. They say love is like a drug, and I don't need to get a habit, and besides, I've heard the side effects are really kind of drastic, like the chemicals that cascade when you find someone attractive. Have you heard of oxytocin? It's this wicked little molecule that sounds as if it popped out of a Harry Potter novel, and 1 gram of it is lethal. Now that might not quite be accurate, the toxicology was calculated on a rabbit, but either way, pretty risky, so I'll stick to literature until I'm mentally prepared enough to try and speak to her. And to the Romeos among you with your amateur theatrics who are still convinced I'll get the girl with 16th century tactics, I'll admit you reap the harvest of your time and dedication as you sang to a veranda in an act of desperation. To be honest, nowadays probably call that home invasion, but add this to the equation. And I mean this with the greatest of respect. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but when you courted Juliet, you were never once expected to communicate by text. And so you could not understand just how dramatic an effect is affected when she sends it and it's ended with an X. 4 and 20 blackbirds of the English alphabet. 4 and 20 opportunities for me to misinterpret what you're trying to say. This analytical brain can be a bit of a pain when I'm trying to explain this Optimum X range, like kiss, kiss, kiss. Too dramatic, she'll dismiss it, but XXX makes it sound kind of explicit, and 2 is just the product of my clumsy thumbs, and 1's the kind of text I might as well send to my mum. Surely not the first one. To play this counting game is so distressing and uncertain, and it's overcomplicating things, and it's only getting worse, and so maybe I should just grow up and talk to her in person. Thank you.